Hello, everybody. Welcome to Looking Through the Glass. We thank you for being here. We have a very special guest here today that has been on our minds and on our hearts for over a year since we very first went on this little adventures of ours of podcasting.
Kind of the start.
Yeah,
From the
you
beginning.
know. So her name is Tazora Moore, and she is the founder of the Hear My Cry Foundation, which is about suicide awareness and offers all kinds of help for those that are seeking help with for the survivors of suicide as well.
How are you, Tazora?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm surviving right now. I'm pregnant.
She's eight
That's
months
not asking
pregnant.
for much, so I'm thankful for that.
Yes. Um. So I know we know why you started this foundation, but I wanted you to give, if you're okay with it, if you can give your story on why you started this foundation.
Yes, so I lost my husband to suicide July the 22nd of 2012. My children was 1, 4, and 8 at the time. It was unexpectedly for my family. However, prior to us meeting, he attempted twice. So I always bring that in because I think the reason why he actually was succeeded is because he didn't get the help that he needed prior to us meeting. So it was just pretty much a time ticking of, anything would have ticked him over to dying to suicide because he did not get the help that he needed. But to fast forward, I didn't know anything about mental health. In our community, it's not something that we talk about. We just pray about it. And if it's God's will, it'll be done. And from a male perspective, I encourage him to do counseling. So we did the marriage counseling, but he just wasn't open to doing counseling for himself. And at that time, I was in school, so I was taking psychology and sociology. So I didn't want to pressure him into going into counseling because I didn't know what he had to relive to be able to get on the other side. But I said all that to say that if I would have knew what I've known now, I would have literally drove him to the counseling. Like, this is what we're gonna do. If you need me to come, I'm coming. If not, you could go in there by yourself. But this is needed, to just
Yeah.
talk about the things that you dealing with and that you battling to be strong for your family. It doesn't mean that you're weak, but you have to be strong for the family in order to pour into us as well. So that's my story.
Wow.
Wow.
It's I remember hearing that story, you telling us about it the first time when we met you, and I cried. I couldn't stop myself because I can't imagine what you went through and with your children and everything, and you have a beautiful heart.
Thank
You're
you.
you're still pulling through, and you started a whole foundation to
Yes.
get the help, to help the help, and um
You're also not, your foundation is also partnering up with other foundations and other things for the community that I found, like prison rehabilitation,
Yes.
like rehabilitation into the real world and stuff like that, because we've had somebody on here before about, he talks about his time in prison and stuff like that from drug use and stuff, and the
a
things
couple
you have
people.
to do. There's a few things. We have a few
Right.
people that, and we're really big on stuff like that as well. Um,
And I
and
just feel like, not to cut you off, but I just feel like people don't understand the importance of mental health.
No, they don't.
Even with me going through, like, I made note that my daughter was 1, but I was going through postpartum. And, I was at home, I was an at home mom. So I haven't worked in like 3 or 4 years. So it was like a whole lot of that was on me mentally, like trying to get my kids together, trying to get myself together, trying to get the household together. Like, it was so sudden that I just felt like everything was just poured on me unexpectedly, and I just had to unravel it. So looking back, my kids was basically raising themselves for the first year. I used to come home, just shut the door. I get out probably by 8 to feed them, clean up whatever mess they made, put them in the bed, take their bath, put them in the bed, and then I'm back in my room. And me going in it, did not realize that I was going through depression. That was my way of coping, and it's just being by myself and isolating myself, to get over what. I never experienced a suicide. So suicide death is totally different than an accident, or from a heart illness or anything like that, because we're able to prepare. But to know that the person that you love decide to end their life, that's kind of like a big pill to swallow, and especially trying to explain it to your kids.
I hmm.
I couldn't. I personally couldn't imagine. As a matter of fact, we actually one of the reasons, the main reason why we went to your foundation to your bike run in 2024 was because of my son-in-law was his childhood friend had taken his life,
Mm,
and and he was struggling really hard with the questions, the leftover questions, the questions that you leave behind, and the why, and the trying to dissect it, and it really took a toll, and we were like, hey, uh I don't even remember
How
how we found you.
Yeah, you just like popped up on I think on my Facebook, I
Yeah, I
think
think
it
it was
was.
Facebook or something. Hey, God works in
mhm.
great, wonderful ways, and I don't believe in coincidences at all. And so and I was like, nope, nope, we're going, we're going, we're
Hmm.
going, we're going. I don't care, we're going, we're going.
It helped him when we went. My husband, he shed a lot of tears while he was there, and he met a lot of
Mm,
people that truly helped him get through to that stage where he with all those questions. I mean, I know that he still has questions, but
of
he's
course.
not as hard on himself with those questions, because I think he partially blamed himself because
Hmm.
we lived in two different states. His friend lived out in Nevada and we live in Texas, and it was, maybe if I reached out more, or maybe if I did this, and it was like,
Hmm.
honey, you can't blame yourself.
Okay.
There's nothing you could have done differently.
And a lot of the people at your, with that was with working with your foundation that day, walked him through that grief. That he still grieves. He just came to me the other day saying that he had one of those days, and I'm like, you're
Hmm.
definitely gonna have them, and that's okay. You can have
Hmm. Yep.
them. And so, but and that right there, just one day with
Hmm.
a foundation with helped him get through it, and that was beautiful.
I'm so honored. When I do the work, so I don't never really, I'm just doing the work, so I don't never really take in the effects that I have on people's lives and the work that I do, because this is just what I do in passion. I know how hard it was for my family. So I just try my best to give the help that the people need so their family wouldn't have to go through. And, we talking about this, but we just had a football player to end his life yesterday at the Dallas Cowboy. He was 24 years
I
old.
just
She
read
was
that.
And
talking about that. Yeah,
yeah,
she
and it's
was talking
just
about that.
a lot of a lot of people feel like mental illness is something that you're born with, but it could come to you in different situations. It could come to you just all of a sudden, like your tragedy, your life situation change. Whenever you feel hopeless, like it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you was born with a mental illness to that drive you
Me
into
having one at the time.
died to suicide. Correct, exactly. So I always try to drill that you can never say what you will do when your back is against a wall, or when you feeling like it's no out. But I just want people to know that my organization is here. Here My Cry Foundation. We provide free counseling to anyone that are suicidal but do not have insurance. We do burial assistance for families who lost a loved one to suicide. And we also do medication assistance for people who cannot afford their mental health medicine. We just try to help in any way possible, because suicide is definitely 100% preventable. But you have to reach out, and you have to express, and you have to let people know that you need the help that you need. And it does not take away from your manhood, it does not take away from your strength. It just all of us have these down moments, and it's
Yes.
some people be able to, prep themselves out of it. Some people have a support group that they could talk them out of it. Some people need medicine, to kind of cope with it. But through it all, I just want people to know that you use your resources, because suicide is definitely 100% preventable if you let people know what you're going through.
Out of curiosity, I know that we did the when we joined you, it was in Texas. I said was wondering, do you go across state lines and help others across state lines as of right now, or are you working on
I do, because the setup is very simple. If you calling from Oklahoma, if I find counselors in Oklahoma to be able to assist you, then we able to do that. So it's not, the structure is definitely not hard. So when I say yes, I can, but it won't be as 24 to 48 hours like how it is in Texas, because I have licensed Texas counselors that'll be able to um, provide that assistance. But if you're calling from a different state, it's just a matter of us getting in contact with a counselor that'll be able to assist you and get the help that you need.
I just wanted to have that out there for people who, listen across state lines, and because it's not just in one state,
For
and
sure.
It's a global epidemic.
it is. It's happening
Definitely.
everywhere.
Now, if you outside of United States, I have the slightest idea.
She's like,
Not to
let
laugh
me
it
make sure
off,
I'm
but
not there yet.
I do get people from, different countries. I haven't made it that far. That's definitely a goal, but in United States I could definitely assist you. I have no clue if you in Africa, in China, in Asia. I
Maybe one
Yeah.
day in God, with God's will,
Well,
right?
in the long run,
Definitely,
in the
definitely.
long
That's
run,
definitely a goal.
it's
Yeah.
also a very taboo thing to talk about as for mental health, and I've been from
And
other
it's starting
cultures.
to get, it's starting to be a little bit more open, like, because I noticed with our streams,
We're
like,
hitting a lot of
we're
other
hitting other
countries.
countries, and I'm noticing
Yeah.
in certain countries that the numbers are going up a little bit, and it's in countries that are definitely more taboo on these things. But we're reaching. Hopefully, we'll reach out. It's God's will. It's all God's will here. So let me ask you. Now since we are a mental health podcast, we
Hmm.
work with other podcasters, and we also come across other foundations and other people that are doing things for suicide. Do you like to collab with others, like if we know somebody that's doing a suicide walk? I'm not trying to make a business deal or do anything like that. I'm just asking, to help raise the, because there's never enough support for this.
Definitely, I'm always open to partnership. Just because I'm big in my community, I definitely want to touch other communities. And I feel like it's important that if we partner together, we reach a whole lot of different graphic of people to be able to raise awareness of mental health. So I'm always open to collaboration, partnership. I partner with 988. So if people in our area that text the number 988, they refer them to me. I'm with Collin County, that they lost team. So that's a suicide team that if a family lose someone to suicide, they come in and they help um clean up their house and everything like that. And then they also give them the resources that they need for my organization for counseling and everything. And also I just got referred just the last 3 weeks. We had to bury five teenagers, 15, a 17-year-old, and an 18-year-old. So I'm always open for collaboration, because we just cannot scream it enough. And I'm in a time where I started in 2013, where we really wasn't talking about mental health. Mental health was kind of on the hush. But after COVID, that's when a lot of people started realizing the importance. So I'm honored to be able to see the snowball reflect that people is actually opening up talking about mental health. So if you guys know anyone that would like to partner with the organization, I do my annual motorcycle ride for suicide awareness, that we're always looking for collaborations to tap into my community and vice versa. And just raising awareness, that's the importance. I don't have to be on the headlines. I just want to help people that need the help, and it's something that I had to understand is that everybody don't want the help, and so you could scream it on a mountaintop, but some people really don't want the help, and that's their final, goodbyes, because they can't endure what they're going through. And I try to wrap my mind around it, but as a survivor, you can't. You don't know what these people going through on a day-to-day basis to just act normal, and I'm not saying it's okay, but you also have to just be realistic with yourself and try to understand, the warning signs and the acknowledgement of, it's okay to not be okay, and to just try to make yourself available. We kind of get caught up in our day-to-day basis, and we look at our phone like, oh, they don't want nothing, but that could be that phone call. They just want to hear your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people don't even want to hear your whole spiel. They just want someone on the phone call to just listen.
Yes.
So it just being mindful of those things, and don't just shy off your friends that's always calling you. I'm speaking to myself too. I get caught up and I'm like, oh, they don't want nothing, but in reality, if they call you, even if you just acknowledge and say, hey, I'm busy right now. Are you sure, it's not an emergency or anything like that? It's so easy, to be over to for the suicide warning signs to be overlooked, because it's not like you could look at a person and tell that they're going through. It's
Mm-hmm.
always through the behavior. So
Some
with
are
you,
able to hide it so well.
yes, for sure. So it's just asking those questions, are you okay? Or is it a time where, do you really need me? I'm busy, but are you okay? Just those moments of just answering the phone and just giving them that, reassurance that I'll call you back, because you're not going to be available 24/7 for anyone, but just giving them that acknowledgement would definitely help.
And yeah, you preach that all day long because that's every time we do a podcast and we talk about the suicide awareness, we've been on others for suicide awareness, and that's something I say is just listen,
Hmm.
because I'm a survivor from it too, and having somebody to talk to and just them listening to you, it helps so much to just be listened to, because it's finally, it, to me, it was a relief off my chest,
Yes.
and I can just take a deep breath finally.
Hmm.
And it is so easy. You're 100%. It is so easy to just go, I'll take that later.
I'll call
Right.
them back.
Hmm.
And when you do finally get to call them back, it could be too late.
Yes, for sure.
And we did have an interview from the other day. This was a veteran, and he spoke about that.
Hmm.
He had that phone call, and it was, I'll talk to you later. We'll hang out next week. And when he finally got there, it was already too late.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That recording isn't even out yet. Um, we so I do have some people. We do know some people that are doing a suicide walk like in South Carolina next year. So I will definitely give you his information if you wanted to go ahead and do something with him. I've already mentioned you to him.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I don't I'm a networker type person. I automatically think networking like that, but it's something I'm very passionate about as well. As a
Hmm.
person that I tried committing suicide multiple times
Hmm.
due to everything, and there's just if I didn't have my family dynamic the way it was, I wouldn't have survived through it. And
Hmm.
if I didn't have, my daughter to call, if I didn't have, I didn't have any friends, I had just family, and it's so important to just go ahead and just say, it's okay to call your daughter. It's okay.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
my 28-year-old daughter would much rather me wake her up at night
Yeah,
than to get
Absolutely.
the other phone call. You don't
Absolutely.
and for me, it was always, well, I shouldn't put that on my daughter. No, it's okay. It is absolutely okay.
I had the mental capacity to handle it. And, I rather my mom be here alive talking to me than my mom be gone from this world and I can no longer talk to her.
And
Correct.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been in such a place where I've had to go to like my 13-year-old, my other
Hmm.
daughter, but she looks at me and she goes, Mom, I'd rather you come to me than me waking up and something else happening, and I want to press that, don't be embarrassed. Just don't be embarrassed, because I struggled with that. I was like, I shouldn't be going to my kids. I shouldn't be pressuring them with this stuff. What am I telling them? What am I causing? What traumas am I causing them?
Hmm.
And by doing this, and I have to say, my kids saved my life in a
Hmm.
way of being just listening to me.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the warning signs is that people do feel like they're a burden.
Hmm.
And like you say, I mean, I will stay up with you 24/7 just to make sure that you're here, and it's most of the time, it's just we always be in our own way, we always in our head, and I just tell people that it's important to have a supportive system. It might not be your family, but it's important to have friends. You cannot isolate yourself from anyone. Like if because just think about it, if you're going down that spiral, you just only having your thoughts, you're not able to reach out to other
You're
people
just
to
pushing.
explain it. Exactly. And so you just going down and down, 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 because it's you in your head. So I don't never, tell people that it's okay to isolate themselves. You got to have at least one friend that you could call and you could talk to, and and just having that friend to just give you the listening ear, and just answering the phone. Sometimes I have my moments and just my mom just picking up the phone saying hello. I'm okay. I'm like, all right, mama, I'll talk to you later. And I'm like, y'all never weird. But it wasn't that I
But
needed
that's so for
anything.
real.
It's not that I needed anything. I just wanted to hear your voice to let me know that everything is okay. And I don't know if it's just a nurturing thing from your mom, but I just have my mamas even with my kids. They come in here and they'll be like, "Mama," and I'm looking like, "Okay, what you want?" I'm like, "No, no, I forgot what I wanted," But you have to have a support system, and I try to have a lot of support groups. I have a man-to-man support group that I host every monthly at the LG Cigar Lounge, where I try to create an environment for our men. It's a lot of times that they don't have an outlet, and we put so much on them, that they have to be a provider. They have to be, you can't cry too much because I don't want no weak man. It's just a lot that they have to entail. So I just try to create this that safe space where they able to communicate with them among themselves without us telling them what they're not doing right. And also just creating those bonds where they able to call and say, "Hey man, today not a good day. I just need words of encouragement." And those words of encouragement could lead somebody on for years to years to come. It don't necessarily have to be just in that moment. Just having, just knowing that somebody got your back. That make a big difference. So I encourage everyone, you're not alone. And in order for you to get help, you have to reach out and let people know that you need the help that you need.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
I love that you're big on the men's mental health too.
We are as well.
It's something I like to hit because it's not recognized. I'm
Mm-mm.
married and I know that my husband has bad mental days, just like I have my bad mental days, and his is just as valid as mine.
Right,
He has a right to sit down and just needs to cry if he needs to cry.
right,
He should have a
absolutely.
and
The men cry for being overwhelmed too.
Yes. Or just take off of work and just be at home and do nothing. It's important to have those mental health days, and I kind of push that among my kids. We think that they don't have things that they're going through, and I get them a once mental health per semester, although they try to push it as much as they can. But it's just
I
important,
agree with that. I
for
do the
them
same
to
thing.
just to sit down and just do nothing. I catch myself like, let me just take today off. Like, I don't want to do nothing. I just want to lay in my bed, just get my thoughts, because you just always on the go. You always trying to catch the next, especially as a founder of an organization. I just always try to get ahead, but I can't pour into an empty cup if I'm not full. So I have to kind of remind myself as well to Zara it's okay, to take a day off, and sometimes I feel like I'm not being, I'm not being useful if I take that day off, but it's needed because it helping my mental health, so it's
Yeah.
definitely important.
And I want to ask you because you battled a lot after your husband, and where you're at now, if you don't mind me asking, how did you get through that?
Thank you. I was going to ask that too. I was trying to figure out how to ask her, how did you master the grief? Because we're not
Being a
trying to make you
mom,
relive things, but at the same time, you have a lot of insight as being someone who's
Mhm.
walked that walk, who has thought those thoughts firsthand. And it's so important because, you know, people need, you just talking about it, they'll go, I understand.
Right.
There's somebody, she completely understands my thoughts. Wow. And just knowing that you're out there, just knowing that you're out there helps. And so, how did you navigate through all that?
So I will say that my organization really helped me. Like explained prior to his death, I really wasn't aware of mental health. Like you hear it, but if it doesn't affect you personally, it's kind of like, oh, okay, But when it affected me, and with me starting my organization, I had to educate myself on the mental health. So in the beginning, I did blame myself. How can I be, married to someone and not knowing what he was dealing with mentally, and that weighed on my heart along as well as the religious aspect of it. When you talking to people that are religious, they'll tell them, oh well, that's the ultimate sin, and he's going to go to hell. Like, I dealt with all of this, and I'm like, how can a person that could give you the shirt off his back, the life of the party, want to make it, like, how could he make this one decision and end up in hell? So I
absolutely.
had to educate myself and read the Bible for myself, instead of just taking people word for it. That's definitely not the ultimate sin that you could have. And it's a few people in the Bible that, died to suicide as well. And God never really elaborate on where their end path was. So it was just me educating myself about what mental health is, me being mindful and trying to explain it to my kids. I think that was the most hurtful process that I had to go through. So I was able to, I'm laughing now because I started the motorcycle ride for suicide in the second year. So they knew that their father passed away, but they didn't know how. And so with our second motorcycle ride, when we had all the motorcycle riders and all of that, and then that's when I explained to them that, when you break your leg, you can't walk right. It's you're not walking normal, and it goes with your brain. If there's something going on with your brain, you're not thinking rationally. So, and I just tried to explain that to them, and they kind of grasp it for the most part. And then now as they older, I kind of check in with them to see how they feel about their father's death. It's something that I kind of keep in I don't kind of like shy from it because at the end of the day, it's their reality.
Yeah.
And it's their father. I'm older, so I don't started dating. So to me, I lost my husband, but that's been 12, 13 years. This their father that they cannot replace. So I try to always have those check-in moments with them to see how they're doing mentally. But for my kids and for my foundation and like my supporters, they keep me pushing as well. Even when I got on and you guys told me how impactful it was for you to come to the motorcycle ride and everything, like that let me know that my mission and my push is not going into vain. So I have to keep going, because I never know who I get in contact with or who I cross path with. So yeah,
You got such a beautiful story. It,
thank you.
it's so impactful, and the way how you explained how you check in with your kids and everything, because oh,
People want to shy away from the harsh reality. They don't, I think it's not knowing how to navigate through your children's healing and your own at the same time. And, you know, a lot of people don't exactly know how to do that. I mean, how can you know how to do that? Because
I could just tell you that when you talk to your kids, they are more advanced than you. I could tell you that. Even with my daughter, she's 13 now, but she was 1. So I asked her, like, how do you feel when you go to your friend's house and they have their mother and their father? And she was like, I don't feel nothing. I'm like, you sure? She was like, yeah, like I never had a relationship with my dad, so it's not like I could miss something that I never had. And I'm looking at her like, I didn't expect that. But
That honest truth
Well,
that
that's
we
it.
right,
She
exactly. She
and
was
she
like, I got
loves
my
that.
brothers. And I'm like, okay, well, that's just me being in my head overthinking, but you won't know unless you have these conversations with these kids. But when I tell you my kids, I'm looking at them like, wow, like I didn't think that you would even look at it from that standpoint, or you would even feel that type of way. But you have to have those hard conversations. And it's not that you encouraging them to die to suicide or anything like that. It's just being normal and just giving them that platform to be able to express themselves, because they do have feelings. And that's something that I had to learn, because growing up, my mom didn't give me that platform. Whatever I say, that what goes. If you say anything back, you get in trouble because you're talking back. And it's like, I ain't talking back, but you can't understand from my point of view. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have no point of view. So just even, navigating that as well, and me raising boys. And, I know you guys know my boys is like way over me, so it's just giving them that respect. And if you give them that respect and that platform, then it really does help you navigate through life. Even outside it is just raising boys, period, is just a headache. I just don't understand how they do the things that they do.
Oh my
However,
gosh, tell me about
I'm
it.
so happy I'm having a little girl.
I'm telling you,
yes, it is
my
way
son
much easier
bag
because they
of
just take everything to the limit. Like it's never,
like you
it's
don't
never a
know.
dull moment.
They don't get the warning signals that are coming from you, and then when you go out, when you're like da 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 da, and they're like looking at you like what? I don't understand.
Right.
My son got in trouble for taking a bag of brown sugar on the bus. I'm like, what on earth compelled you? You went into
I
the
just
bus
do
that
not
you were
understand their
in.
thought process.
I'm like,
And
you just seen the bag of sugar and you're like, oh, I'm gonna take that.
A whole brand
A
new
whole
bag.
brand new bag of sugar and then proceeded to throw it at everybody on the bus.
definitely a boy thing, definitely. So yeah, I take my head off. Girls is way much easier. You just have to deal with the attitude, but with boys, I don't know, their mind is they just want to try everything, which is good and bad, because
Yeah.
that's how they, form their personality. But from a mother standpoint, I just thought that I wasn't gonna make it through their teens. Like it was just always something. It was just always something. But they 18 and 22 now. So I love them to death. But boy, them boys. And it doesn't get better. My oldest son was working on his car, and we told him like, hey, like this is not something that you could just do because you have tools. And he worked on it from Saturday, Sunday until he couldn't anymore. And he was like, I gotta call a mobile mechanic. Like, duh, like you're not a mechanic. Like
So he just knew that YouTube could tell him what his back tire
yes, yes. So I was like, you know
Let me
what?
sure he
I
can
just
repair
learned to fight my own battles. I just like, okay, if long as you stand out of trouble and you at home, hey, I just let you break your car and hey, mama gonna help you pay for it. I mean, it is what it is.
one of mine was trying to drive all the way to another state, and I'm like, you can barely get your vehicle from your house to my house. What are you doing?
Can't even go into town.
Like,
5
what are
miles.
you doing
Oh
trying to
my,
drive to
we could go
four
on and
states
on.
away? Like, what is wrong with you? Sheesh.
Y'all are
They
He's like,
are
so
well, I
normal.
got
petty.
That's their norm.
yeah, that is their norm. He's like, well, I've got tools. Okay, that's great. A screwdriver and a freaking and a wrench is not going to get you
And
out of
YouTube, I
there.
swear they feel like they could look at YouTube and figure out any and everything.
Anything.
And I'm like, sir, that is not how they go. But he had to learn it. So now he was like, Mama, I know I'm not gonna be working on my car. I know you better not, because you creating a bigger problem.
Mine is mechanically inclined, and I still was like, "What is wrong with you?"
He's been working on cars, and it's still.
Yeah, he grew up working on cars, and I'm like, "What is wrong with you?"
Yeah. But I just want to encourage people, like, we really don't talk about mental health, but when you do, it's so many people could relate to your story. When my husband first passed away, I definitely didn't tell people that he died to suicide. I would just make up whatever, he had a heart attack, and it's just because of the questions that come behind it, or the why did he do it? And I'm like, why would you ask me that? Because if I knew,
Feel
I
like
would have
you're already
saved him,
at that.
right, exactly. But it was because I was going through my trauma, I was going through my grief. So I couldn't articulate, the why, how I am now. So I tell people, and I mean, it's whenever I open up, it's always someone that knows someone, or they going through it. So I just always encourage people to talk about mental health, because you're not alone. Like, everybody is
Is
going
struggling.
through, everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire, you're going through, money can't buy you everything, and if you have the money, you're still not happy because you're not happy within yourself. It just entails a whole lot. So just open up about your mental health, because the person that you're talking to definitely could relate, or know somebody that can relate, and just being honest with yourself, and reaching out and getting the help that you need.
I can't say it any better than that. In all honesty,
Yeah,
like, and it makes me happy that more and more people are starting to talk
Hmm.
about it. Part of the reason why we came to a podcast platform is because social media, it it, it limits on
it
what you can
gags
say.
you.
Yeah, the second you say suicide, it's immediate. Okay, you're flagged. You can no longer post, or you can no longer talk about this. And it's like, why can't we talk about this? And I understand that it can be a triggering word, but that's why we gotta walk through it and talk about it, because that means we are trying to stop people from finding the help.
That, and as well, people use social media. Just all depend on how they use social media, because social media could sometimes cause depression, because when you on social media, they only show your ups, but everybody have those down moments, and you comparing yourself to people that you feel like have it all together. But once those cameras go off,
Cameras off. Yeah,
they're crying, they're, miserable. And then once you hear that these people died to suicide, and they tell your story, a lot of times we be like, dang, like, I didn't even know. Or you looking at these people, some of their relationship goals, and then you on down the road, they like, okay. So I just think that we just have to find balance, of just being in your own lane, and don't compare yourself to anyone, because everybody have their ups and downs. Everybody have their, and we're not going to show our downs. We're going to always show our ups, but just know that what goes up must come down, and to just be realistic with yourself. Can't stress that enough with social media. Even with my kids, they always, oh, but I want this and I want. I'm like, but you don't know how long it took for them to get there. This is not like a overnight process of them. They able to get this some charger that they always talking about, and I'm like, it's a process, and you have to go through your process just like everyone else have to go through their process. But just know, when those cameras off, they are human just as well as you are, and they don't have relationship with their parents. They don't have relationships. They feeling lonely as well, or they using their platform for their outlet. So just know what you're going through is real, and be honest with yourself, and don't compare yourself with other people, because you don't know their struggles as well, and it could be way worse than what you're dealing with.
100%. One thing I have to tell myself this is that we are all at different parts and different times of our lives. So I might be at one point in my life, but they might be
Yes,
in a different point in their life, and it's not going to ever be the same. We're never going to
absolutely,
line up. And
absolutely.
that's something, because I go, well, I wish I was at that point. I can't tell myself that, because
Mm-hmm.
then I'm just going to cause myself to spiral after that. I'm at this
Right.
point in my life because this is where I need to be right now. I wish I
Exactly.
could be there at some point. I could eventually hit that point, but I'm where I'm at right now. And and I don't think that's taught enough for
Mm-hmm.
people. We envy. We That is a very big thing, is we envy each other because they have something that we don't.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, even with my organization, it's been times that I wanted to walk away, of feeling like I'm not making no movement or just feeling overwhelmed with my grief, but I had to keep pushing, and I had to remind myself of my why. So even though, yeah, we've been doing it over 10 years, but it has been several times where I'm like, you know what, I just want to do something different because, I'm not making no movement. Or I'm comparing myself, with other organizations. Let's just be real. I pull up their 990s and be like, dang, like they made $1 million, like why I can't get there, but that's just the human aspect. But I always reel back to, you don't know how long they've been doing it. They've been doing it 20 something years. So everyone has to start at zero,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as you doing what you doing and doing your calling, God is gonna always make a way.
Yes.
Period.
And I want to say thank you for what you're doing,
Thank
because
you.
you are making a difference. You are making an impact. No matter if we show our faces one year and not another year, we are still thinking about you.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
thank
were
you.
we were so upset that we couldn't do, but my husband has shoulder surgery. I was in the hospital. Like they purposely put me in as many seizures as they could. Like,
Oh, wow.
so it was like, so but the entire time I was like, okay, I'll repost. I'll repost. I'll make sure I spread the word. I'll repost. That's what I could do because we were looking forward to it. It's just, we just couldn't do it this year. Next year, we'll be in much better situations health wise,
And I want to bring it out there. You accept donations, right?
Absolutely. You can make a donation through the website of hearmycryfoundation.org. That's where we do a lot of that's where we accept the donations. And the donations go to free counseling to anyone that are suicidal but do not have insurance. The burial assistance for families who cannot bury their loved ones, and also the medication assistance. We have the man-to-man support group. We actually opened up another group for our Beyond the Chair Young Men Circle. We try tapping into our young men to kind of give them the safe space as well to talk about what they're going through. I haven't tapped into the women because my organization just kind of gravitated to men. And I think it's important, that we always have our homegirls that we could call on the phone. But, our men, they really do suffer in silence. And I just try my best to create that platform where they have that ability to open up and be vulnerable without the women around, and it's important, we're quick, let's just be real with ourselves. Like we real quick to tell them what they're not doing right, and they need to do this and they need to do that, but they don't have that person that they could bounce off of, like, hey, like I'm doing the best I can, but she doesn't see it, and just having that person in the background to just let you know, like, hey, just be consistent, we do know y'all mess up, but we don't have to tell y'all every time.
Agreed. And I love that it circles around the men and the young men. And I feel that and I've seen this growing up. I'm only 28, but I've seen this growing up. Is men, boys were not given a choice on being sensitive. It was, you're too
Exactly.
sensitive. It's not, you have emotions and your emotions are valid. It's, you're too sensitive. Boys don't cry. And,
Hmm.
if you got that as a girl, imagine how much you boys got it. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
and so, and that's continued over the years. That's a generational thing that's continued over the years, and it still happens to this day. And
Absolutely.
here we are speaking about mental health, and it is
Hmm.
becoming more of a common subject, but it's still not recognized as, and men should be given that safe space. And I'm so glad that you do that for them.
Thank you.
me too.
Always. And just, yeah, I'm so glad that we got you
Yeah,
on.
we really have been looking forward to this for a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, well, because the second we met you, we both were like, we're gonna get have her on the podcast.
Well, here we are,
Yeah.
manifested. Definitely, for sure.
Oh, most definitely. And with your bike run, it is in Texas. Do you know where it's going to be starting at and where it would be ending at? Because I know you guys go from one place to another.
Yes, so July the 18th, 2026. Oh, that sounds so different to say.
Right.
But we will be starting at Turtle Bengill Park, and then we will end at DeSoto Park as well. We normally start advertising it in January. So you can just go on all my links of Hear My Cry Foundation. We on Instagram, we on Facebook, we on TikTok, we on mostly all the social media platforms. Now I'm really heavy on Facebook. TikTok is a little advanced for me. But so I have someone running it, but you definitely, if it's an emergency and you reach out, they definitely will relay the information to me. But all of our events and everything is always updated on our social media handles.
All right, most definitely. And of course, if you send all that information to us and everything to contact, if they need to contact the website, email that to me, and I would be more than happy to put it in the descriptions for those who are driving and listening and they want to go home and find out more information. Um, and of course, I mean, we'll hold on to that information for people who want to reach out to us and needs help for looking through the glass. You know, we'll keep her contact in hand. That way we can, refer them to you as well. Um, because you have the resources to help, and we want to keep those resources to help out as well. Our email, of course, is one to look into the glass.
Once you look in through 3/4 of the glass.
Somebody's got to correct me at some point.
You did the last one great.
I screwed up somehow. And at gmail.com. We also are on Facebook as well. We don't have as we're building up our Facebook. But that's looking through the glass, spelled exactly how it should be spelt. And we have our TikTok, which, as it is advanced, I don't deal with it. She does.
I do all the TikTok stuff.
Because it's too advanced for me.
Right.
But and of course, like we were more than happy to have somebody, share their story, whether it's suicide, domestic violence, all of that, any kind of mental health. It is important to share. It is important to talk about because somebody is going to resonate with it. We resonate with pain. We all have been through something, and we, like you said, Tazara, we all have faced it. We all wear that mask,
Mhm.
and I'm just glad that we finally got you on here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us through another episode of Look into the Glass.
Bye.